Hello, welcome. We're back with our 10th episode of Talking Taylor. Wow! And today we have something even more special for you because we are doing a special highlight because we have a world premiere happening on this Thursday, April 1st, with our very own John Harnage, who will be my guest today. So let's get him on and let's get chatting. Dun, dun, John. Where is he? Ah, there he is. Hi.
I
Oh, look at you with your Paul Taylor book just off the shoulder.
obviously had to display it.
Duh. I have Trez just off my shoulder, so I feel like we're guardians with the great male dancers.
Yes, yeah.
Mm.
Got that Taylor legacy we always have behind us.
God, I love it so. So before I forget, and we're going to talk about it a lot today, but we are going to be discussing John has a world premiere on Thursday with a new collaboration with Miami City Ballet, which is so exciting. And that's going to premiere at 9 a.m. on Miami City Ballet's digital platforms and our digital platforms. If you need more information about it and how to see it, please, there's a link in our bio, and I'm sure for Miami City Ballet. But yeah, we're going to get to it. But so, John, let's start out at the beginning. Of course, you were chosen because you are a Miami native.
I know, right? I mean, it was kind of crazy. I mean, I think it technically was a total coincidence that I was the dancer they chose for the project. But then, yeah, it was like, just so everyone's aware, I am from Miami, and Miami City Ballet is where I trained as a child. I mean, I started there when I was 7. I would have started earlier, but that was the youngest they started. Yeah, they taught me everything I knew for all the way until high school. I mean,
really?
Yeah. It was.
And were you just taking like strict ballet classes, or were they doing like creative movement, jazz kind of thing?
It
Like,
was
tell me about the
pretty much
school.
strict ballet.
Okay.
Yeah, and danced with them on every Nutcracker. I was Fritz and Prince for like 5 years, 6 years. Yeah, and it was totally just like formed my idea of dance. And
Well,
so
speaking of great male dancers, did you ever get to like Edward Villela like pop through the halls? Like, what kind of interactions do you have with him?
Never like personal interactions. I took a class from him once or twice as I got older, but I definitely always saw him.
Right.
And I guess I was always like, for many years, the prince and his Nutcracker, so he knew who I was for a while.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, and I do know that he and Paul had such a really awesome relationship. So
They really did.
Yeah.
They were really close. So you said you were up there until high school, and then did you go to New World?
Yeah, I went to New World School of the Arts, which is what introduced me to modern, and I was like, oh, I can move like what? There's other things to do. And yeah, very slowly over time, over the 4 years, it was like, yeah, modern is just really became more of the love than ballet ever was. I started to find that I could express myself more, felt more grounded and rooted. A lot of that came from my Graham teacher at New World, who was Peter London, and he just so nutso, but absolutely amazing. And yeah, he and like so many of my teachers at New World really believed in me. And then yeah, after New World, I went to Juilliard.
Where was that? Huh?
I went to Juilliard, which was really fun. And then after that, I was in Jessica Lange Dance for 4 years.
Yeah.
Got to work with her. And then 4 years after that, I joined Taylor.
I mean, when you say it like that, it seems very simple, John. And I don't think it was quite that, like, seamlessly down the line. Talk to me about Juilliard, because I want to know more. You are our only Juilliard alumnus in the company right now, but we've had many people that have both graduated from Juilliard and also been on faculty at Juilliard. Carolyn Adams was on faculty for a very long time, and Linda Kent still is on faculty there, I believe. And of course, the greatest alumni to come out of Juilliard that we both know is Paul Taylor, which I think is so. I was going to write a little thing on my story that was just like, what does John Harnage and President Biden have in common? And I was going to say they both graduated from schools that Paul attended, because Paul went to Syracuse on a swimming scholarship, which is where President Biden graduated, and then you graduated from Juilliard. So You have so
That
much in
is
common with the
so
president.
circuitous. I don't know how you pulled that off, but I was like, what the heck do Biden and I have in common? I
If
don't
there's
get it.
anybody that can do it, it's me. I will always find nuance in how we all connect to Paul.
I was like, I didn't know Biden went to Juilliard.
He got that voice degree back in the day before
Hmm.
he got into politics.
Yeah.
So you studied with Linda, right, at
Hmm.
Juilliard, but you weren't able to perform any Taylor rep while you
No,
were there, right?
no, unfortunately, no. I did other awesome works, but Taylor, I got to watch it, and it was really
You got
great
to,
watching my colleagues do it.
yeah. Well, what did they perform? What did you see?
They did Sunset while I was there. And I remember,
Oh,
I just always remember one of my best friends, Brittany. She was this tiny, tiny little thing. And so, of course, she was the girl that got up on the voice backs. And, of course, so Juliet's her leg went behind her ear when she
of
did her
course.
développé. But still, it was really fun to watch them do it.
I've just been as part of my like archival duties. I saw a stack of tapes that were all the old Juilliard videos that I'm dying to show you sometime. But we're talking like I found a tape of when Esplanade was staged there, and in the cast it has Takahiro Yuyama, who is a choreographer that was part of the company, and he's in the same cast as Robert Battle. Amazing. And then I found I have Peter Chu, who's choreographing on us, and he's doing Tresnevek's or Chris Gillis's part in Musical Offering. So
Amazing.
it's amazing how many people have been touched by Paul's work and how it all comes out. But yeah, did you ever get a chance to like pop down and see the company during that time when you were in school? Because you were in New York and they were still
Yeah.
at like City Center, so it wasn't that far away.
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got to go. I mean, Linda, of course, was always like letting us know when the shows were happening, and I did make my way a couple of times, and it's always such an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think it's interesting that you did go and join Jessica's company, Jessica Lang, because, speaking of choreographers that have deep connections with ballet companies, I know Jessica has made a lot of work on a lot of people. And then also that like she had, a strong classical background mixed with modern, I would say was very much her aesthetic. And so watching the tapes, you guys are gorgeous, gorgeous. I love her work. And so, yeah, tell us about what the experience was like working with Jessica.
Yeah, I mean, it was really amazing. I feel really lucky that I got to work with her right out of college.
Mm,
Like I was a baby when she hired me. And she really helped pull me into company life, what it's like to live and work like day to day with a choreographer. I
mm,
really loved that I got to spend 4 years getting to know her aesthetic and her needs. I loved being part of a single choreographer company where I knew that my job was to portray her work and her vision, and we all took it very seriously. And then I also think it's really cool. Like you said, her work is, she never said she was contemporary ballet or anything like that. She always said that it was like quite a mix between ballet and American modern. And
mm.
many reviewers did often compare her work to Paul Taylor. And I do sometimes feel that like when I'm in there doing, I'm like, oh, I remember doing something like this with Jessica. In the sense that it's like that idiom, that language still exists in dance that is being made today.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when you joined the company, which wasn't that much longer after I had joined. I think just realizing that like you had been to all the places we had been to, like Jessica and Taylor have so many connections, but you had already been to the Pillow before. You had like done a lot of touring. So I think of anybody who had joined the company, you were already like very much used to this kind of like big touring company lifestyle.
Yeah.
So you seem like a very like natural fit. You're like, oh, I've done this all before.
Yeah. No, it was like you said, it was like we were already a touring company. We spent most of our time on the road performing. Really, the only difference was just like doubling the size of the company and be like,
Yeah.
who are all of you guys? Like,
Yeah.
there's twice the people on the stage, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have been some of the fave roles that you've taken over since you've joined the company? I mean, you've gone into a lot already in such a short amount of time. I think you're very prized for your jump, obviously, but also just like your technical skills. I mean, the fact that you're our reigning bugle boy at the moment, I think speaks highly to how you can jump your way through anything.
You're right. I mean, it helps when you have no plie. You just keep bouncing. Yeah, I've been really, really lucky. I just feel really fortunate with a lot of the casting I've gotten. That's included Airs, which will always be one of my absolute faves. The
Gorgeous.
jig in Airs is so difficult, but so much fun. And it just living in that world, it's so beautiful. But then, you know, on the flip side, Last Look was always one of my favorite Taylor dances. I remember when I was doing the Taylor intensive, it was during my first summer in college. During one of the lunch breaks, Patrick Corbin showed us the Dance in America video of Last Look. And I just watched it. I was like, oh my God, like this is the most insane, incredible thing I have ever seen. And I just from seeing that one video, I was like, I really hope I can one day do this. And now I have. I did it in my first season with the company. And jumping into that world, oh my God, was so insane.
We thought it was insane. We were all off stage convinced that you weren't going to come off stage. The way that you threw your body around made me very nervous. I'm happy that you're okay, but you're definitely going to keep chiropractors employed for a very long time, John.
I know. I think I do keep a couple of them employed. Yeah, no, I just remember like when it was my very first time on Lincoln Center stage during the opening night of the season, and then I had to do Last Look, and just being so ecstatically happy that it was like curtain up my first time on Lincoln Center, but we're all in that pile, and I'm supposed to be this sad, manically depressed, terrible person, and I just had to like try to dampen down how happy and excited I was, and just remember, oh no, I'm in this terrifying Last Look world. But I'll always remember that sort of like dichotomy of feelings and emotions that just like felt insane.
I mean, I think that's really what makes you one of the truest of the Taylor dancers is that we tend to be stressed out by the happy pieces where there's a lot of jumping, and we tend to like really love when we can just get down and dirty and kind of ugly. So,
oh my God. I mean, it's like, for me, that reminds me of like a lot of the Graham that I was exposed to in high school, where it's just that sort of all or nothing, fully visceral, and it's like every movement is like a fight or flight moment. And you know, of course, Paul came from that Graham language, and so there are so many pieces where it's just like your entire body is in it, and I have no time to even think about what could go wrong. It's just if I don't put all of myself into it, it's just not possible.
yeah. I mean, you and Christina with that last duet and like Last Look, where it's like a dance to the death, and then Betty was like, "Can you jump over her?" And you were like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen it done like that. She's like, "Oh, no one could ever do it, but I think you can." I was like, "You want me to do what?" I'm just gonna jump over her. Okay. Actually,
I love that Christina was just like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
I know,
okay.
She's like, "Sure." I'm like,
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. I have a video on my phone because every once in a while I film rehearsal to just try to see how things are going. And I have a video of my phone of practicing that part, and I full on run into her like a bulldozer, just like knock her down. But she's fine. She's Christina. And I'm like, somehow get up. I try to keep going. I just land on my booty 10 more times. Yeah. So I have that on film.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll try to throw that up later. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this collaboration that you've done, and I just think it's so interesting. It made me start thinking about about Paul and ballet companies and like what the history of this has all been, because Paul very much like was around in the time when it was like ballet over here and modern over there, and they're two separate things. But then how much his career really, you know, there was a lot of intersections there. The first one being that there is a lost ballet that like, you know, everybody would love to see. It's actually, it was created in 1960 for the Netherlands Ballet. He had, you can read about it in the book behind you. He got a commission from the Netherlands Ballet and created a piece called The White Salamander that I don't know if there's any sort of like video of it. I haven't been able to find any. I've talked to Suzanne Carbonneau, his biographer, and she hasn't seen it yet. But that seems so interesting. So that was the only ballet that he actually created on a ballet company. Shortly after, you know, Esplanade, when Paul really came into, you know, such renown, he started a commission for ABT to Sibelius and created a lot of it. I actually found film of it in our archives just this last summer. And then I guess he was unhappy with whatever came out of it. So he like put the kibosh on it. But a lot of that movement then was remade and used for Airs, which was created later that year or the next year. So,
Okay.
and then after that point, then it was like, I think ABT did end up performing Airs. It was staged later on them, but anytime he got a commission, it would always be he wanted to work with his own dancers, which, speaking as the introvert that I am, I'm very much like, I understand where you're at, Paul. Like, I only want to be with people that I know and I trust. And then he would make the dance on them, and then he would have one of his alumni come and go and stage it for other companies. So,
yeah,
but I mean, it's happened.
Jessica Lang would do that with us too. Like when she
Oh,
was
really?
to work on Pacific Northwest Ballet or ABT, also we would do weeks of rehearsal where she would just work with us and then find the material and then go and then finalize it there. And so it was really cool being a part of that process. It's kind of strange being like, I'm not going to get to do this dance.
Yeah.
But really cool to then like go see the work and like see, I don't know, the stars of ABT. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I helped with that step. Oh my God, like she's amazing, but she's also struggling with that step. Like, yeah.
I mean, when I think of the stuff that he made on the company that then, but what, like, I wonder, like, if he ever had it in mind that it would be put onto ballet dancers with that kind of background. The first one that comes to mind is Company B, which was made for the Houston Ballet. I mean, that obviously is a tour de force of like all the steps, but like Black Tuesday, Changes. I mean, I know you haven't danced them as much as I have at this point, but you know, there is a kind of a push of like fast footwork that I think maybe was like an idea of like, oh, this could fit on people that do Petit Allegro. But just a ton. I think my favorite story is there was a commission, Danbury mix was for New York City Ballet. And I didn't know what the terms of it were, but I think the joke is that he ended up making on the company and putting in so much falling and all this stuff that they were like, oh, I don't know if our company would do it. So it ended up being that they had like one guest soloist for New York City Ballet and then they basically had the entire Taylor company perform for New York City Ballet season.
I had no idea.
Yeah. They were like all that falling and they were just like, ooh, you know. Probably would have broken all of the ballerinas who are very tall. I mean, it takes a long time to get down, speaking like I know. Amazing. So talk to me a little bit now about like you had a very contemporary version of this wherein like you did a process via Zoom, correct?
Yeah. It was like 6 months into the pandemic and I hadn't gotten off my couch in those 6 months, and Michael Novak reached out and was like, we're going to do this amazing collaboration for the first time. Do you want to be part of it? And I was like, yes. And then rehearsal started, I think in August, and it was just me alone in the studio at Taylor with a mask on and a computer in front of me, and just met Amy that way, just like, hi, let's get started. And she just sort of worked with me over Zoom and we slowly figured it out. I was totally anticipating it to be a really difficult process, like choreographing over Zoom, like how the heck is that going to work? But it was surprisingly easy and smooth, and I totally attribute that to Amy. She was always so clear with what she wanted. I don't know how she pulls it off, but like I don't remember ever being very confused. It was just anywhere I was in the space. She was very good at seeing where I was, where my momentum was going, and intuiting like where I maybe wanted to go next. I still don't know how she did it, but somehow we worked together, and she guided me through it, and it was a surprisingly painless process.
Great.
Yeah.
I have to take a second because I feel like I might have missed over that like Miami City Ballet has the most amount of Taylor rep of any company. A really great relationship with Patrick Corbin, but I think they've had as many as 10 of Paul's works in the rep. Crazy. Yeah,
the first Taylor dance I ever saw was on Miami City Ballet because
which one?
That's where it was as a student. I saw Promethean Fire, and I just remember this was when I was still, I think, a little ballerina, a little Trina, and I didn't really know much about anything. But then I just saw all of those bodies surging on the stage, just weaving. And I just remember thinking, like, this is the most stunning thing I've ever seen. Like, whatever they're doing, whoever this is, whoever made this, like, oh my God. And so I pretty much every time I perform it now, I think of that image of it just being sort of my first introduction to modern, to Taylor, and now I get to do it, and still every time just such an epic experience.
Yeah. I mean, I have such mad respect for them because like coming from a ballet background and trying to like, it was hard enough for me to like assimilate to Paul's style coming from
Mhm.
like much more like jazz modern grand kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Paul
Yeah.
is everything opposite of what ballet is, right? Like he's down when they go up, he's, jump out rather than up. He's,
Yeah.
legato, but not that actually legato.
Yeah.
And, I've seen them do Mercuric Tidings, which is an impossible dance, Esplanade, Promethean Fire, like you said. I mean,
Yeah.
all these really challenging pieces that they just do so beautifully.
I was
And they
talking
were
to,
the first ones to bring back the episode solo.
oh, they were.
Yeah, they had Peter Frame out to stage it for a couple men of Miami City Ballet before the City Ballet brought it back last year with Truz. So I just love that they appreciate Paul's legacy as much as
Yeah.
we do, obviously. And so, but that's great.
I remember, so when I did, what was it? I did the National Foundation for the Arts Young Arts competition, and I was a finalist for that, um, which is unfortunately for me based in Miami because all the winners got to go to Miami. And I was like, oh, okay, well,
I already been here. I live here.
already here. But anyways, the dance part of that competition took place at the Miami City Ballet Studios. And so then during one of our lunch hours, we got to have like a Q&A with Edward Ballela, who was then artistic director of the company. And I remember him saying, even at the time, I was just like laughing. But I remember him saying that the only, like for him, it was all ballet, and the only modern choreographers he liked or respected were Twilight Thought from Paul Taylor, which is, of course, represented in all the rep he chose because he, like you said, 10 pieces. And I only found out recently that the first work that Miami got from Taylor was 3 epitaphs. And that just like blew me away. I was like, I want to see this. Just like this group of ballet dancers having to become the most slouched, slumpy creatures imaginable. I want to find whatever video that is. I can't believe that was the first one. Yeah. But I actually was talking to Samantha, who's my partner in the Viva video duet. And she was talking about how much fun it is whenever Patrick comes in to set a work on them and how he works with them on a lot of like work across the floor and running and how to get down and move from the back. And I was so excited to talk to her about that because I'm always curious about how much these repetitors work with them to like get the style. Because like you said, it's really, really hard. It's so distinct. I mean, I'm still working on it and I'll be working on it until I retire. It's tough. And so it's very kudos to any company that does try to bring this on. And I was also talking to Samantha, and she said her favorite piece was Mercuric Tidings, which to me, I'm like, I don't know how. I haven't done it yet, but it looks terrifying. It just looks so scary. But she says it was like halfway through the piece, and she was like, "This is an amazing dance. I love doing this." And I was like, "Oh, it makes me feel so great."
I mean, it's a weird like lineage thing too, because I think I know Miami City Ballet is rooted in the Balanchine tradition, and I think Paul was inspired by that. Obviously, every major New York choreographer was, having a conversation with Balanchine at a certain point in their life, but or in their career. And so, but like Balanchine about, moving through space, moving big. And I think that is so in Paul's style as well, right? Like he's a big mover. He wants you to move. And so, yeah, that's interesting that like they're talking about like traveling, which I'm sure in like ballet you want to do, but you're used to doing it as like, turning jetés. And in Paul's style, it's like you're going to run or you're going to do like a piddly poop for forever and it's going to make you cross the whole stage. Or in the case of the epitaphs, you're going to slouch your way across the stage, but move big. Yeah. So I'm sure that like totally there's the connection there that, we're cousins in a certain sort of way. So talk to me a little bit more about Viva, which is the name of the dance that you're premiering on Thursday. It's choreographed by Amy Hall Garner, another Juilliard grad, correct? Because you can only work with people connected to Juilliard. But it's a duet, but not a duet for 2 people in the same room, correct?
No, the creation process was very much like the rest of the pandemic, almost in the sense that it happened over Zoom,
Right.
and I was totally alone. Um, uh, but at the same time, thanks to the magic of technology and the resilient creative spirit of artists and institutions like Taylor and Miami, we did this.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get to work with Samantha, unfortunately. We had a couple of rehearsals where we were trying to figure out the in-between moments, the edits between when it would go from her to me, make sure that those were going to run smoothly. But like I'd be watching her part and then be like, oh shoot, I gotta get ready to then do my part. And so like I didn't get to see all of what she had to do until I saw the video.
Yeah.
And gobsmacked, floored. She's so stunning. But it's like I really hope I do get to meet both Amy and Samantha in person someday and work with them again in
Yeah.
person. But I mean, something like this couldn't have happened without a pandemic. So I mean, in a way, it's like there's a silver lining.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and like you're so right. Like this is so exciting, and it could only have happened via Zoom. But what is created from necessity might become a thing. Who- how more like because we are so related, us in Miami City Ballet. How can we do more collaborations in the future, especially now that we've worked out Zoom? And so when we can be together in the same studios, what could come from that? So
Yeah.
that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Um, the music is Vivaldi, correct?
Yeah, it was so much fun. It's like
Yeah,
very surging, very happy. I heard, and every time I got to dance to it, it was uh, it was very exhilarating. I love that Amy chose that music for this piece.
yeah. I was in the studio one day while you were working, and I definitely, if you haven't been to the Taylor Company studios, there's a couple doors that have what we call portholes because they literally are like portholes you can look in. So I kind of popped my head through into the hole, and John was throwing himself around in such a way that again I was worried for his chiropractor and his health. But it was inspiring. And at that point, I had been so starved of live movement to like watch you go for it like that. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna
Yeah,
be one of those things where John gets to like let loose and like just go at it. So
go at it. I mean, I think Amy really kind of saw that as well
uh,
in the sense that uh, I mean, I really wasn't sure what I was going to be able to do after 6 months unable to dance. And so I did my best to kind of get back in shape, but it's just so impossible. So really all it came down to was adrenaline.
yeah,
But then the moment a choreographer is sitting in front of you, it's kind of like that like automatic pilot turns on where it's just like you're there, you're ready to do whatever it is they might want, even if you think it's impossible in the back of your brain. You have one
right,
job as a dancer, and it's to make it possible. And of course, I was just so excited to be in the studio and dancing again. And I think she felt that, and just kind of, she was all down for pushing me to go more and more and bigger and bigger. She was such an incredible coach and like my biggest cheerleader from afar. But she definitely pushed me to my absolute limits. I was like, I cannot believe I'm trying to do this after 6 months off. She was able to fit the craziest step. Like, there's a step every quarter second. Like, it just goes, goes,
yeah.
goes, goes. It would have been hard if I had been in the best shape of my life. And instead, it's like, how the heck am I going to pull this off? Pure desperation, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. To everybody watching, if you have a question for John about Viva, about his life, about Taylor at all, please write in the comment section, write and use the little question button if you want. I'm happy to ask him the question. John, I do want to know a little bit more about like, that was the beginning of this like recent, line of, dance for camera in a certain sort of way. After you shot Viva, then you would go on. We filmed the Cloven Quartet for our November event that happened last year, as well as Esplanade. And you've done a lot of filmings. What's it like to perform for camera that's different than performing for stage?
Yeah, I'd say in somewhat like you're always trying to perform and be on, but when there is the camera element and you're trying to get all these different shots, it's extended into a whole day event. And being someone who's only done live performance art my whole life, I'm Lee, you know this about me. I'm very into having my routine. I have exactly, after tech, I have my 20-minute nap, I have my dinner, I have my shower, I do my makeup, I get in, like I have everything set out to the T so that I am then ready to go, do my best to nail that performance, and then I can breathe. And then when it's, you're recording it, it's kind of like you just have to be on all day, and I have no routine for that. Right. So for me, it's actually really challenging. And then another thing is like, you've got all these camera. God, I don't know. It's different. I always thought I would like love to just like do it one day. Let's film some dance, but it's really hard for me, I guess, as someone who's always trained and done live performance where it's just like you do it and you're done.
Well, you think to not do it on a stage in front of a whole group of people, it's going to be like less stressful for some strange reason. But then you realize that like you have to nail it in that moment. And then you have to recreate it again and again. It's like doing like a full day of a marathon, and it's like, no, it's going to break it up. So you need to like keep the adrenaline going all day. And you're like, I can't. Yeah,
keep the adrenaline going. And you always think like, well, if I mess up, then we'll just do another take. Actually, no, it's usually like based on time and how someone else did. And it's like, you just have to try to make every take your best take, and they might use the one where you don't do your best.
Right.
So that's another really difficult thing about filming. But like you said, we're doing it more and more. So I am doing my best to sort of like figure out how to make it more part of what I understand to do.
Yeah. I think the other day I remember hearing like from screen actors like Alec Baldwin or like Meryl Streep, and about like, I think somebody once said like Jack Nicholson never did the same take the same, like every single one was a different like way of doing it. And like something about that inspired me, where I was like, okay, this is about the 5th time that we're shooting the same section, but like, how am I going to do it differently this time? Right. And like, maybe this is the one they're going to use and maybe it's not, but at least it's going to be interesting for me. And so something about that, it didn't have to be like preserved in the same sort of way, whereas like everything has to be like spotless. It could be like, okay, each take is going to be a different way of doing it. I'm going to do soft this time, I'm going to be hard the next time. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been trying, but we're not trained for this. Like you said, we have, degrees in live performance art, which is the best.
What's also so strange is that I filmed this back in August. Yeah. And so I suddenly feel like, those, well, I never understood what this felt like. These actors, they film something and then a year later they're having to like talk about it and see it. And it's kind of like, wait, I totally like that happened. And you suddenly have this anxiety about like, well, what did I look like then? Was I in a good mood? What was happening? And how did it happen? How did we do this? Yeah. So it's like this strange feeling to just like do something, have it sit in a can for so long, and then have it show up and be like, oh, here it is.
Yeah. I think one thing that I've learned for us is to make all your coworkers who aren't dancing have to cheer you on, because if it feels like it's a live performance, then it's definitely going to be it. Unfortunately, I think Viva, you guys like shot it at like sunrise, so nobody was in the studio except for like you and Novak. So
no, actually it was, and I don't think they credit him in the credits for Viva, so I don't know if anyone would know this, but Michael Novak was actually the one who filmed me dancing. He had the camera, and then it was, Sasha was the director and filmmaker, but he couldn't be there. He was in Miami, so they set up a phone on the camera rig that Michael Novak was holding, and they were FaceTiming the screen to Sasha, and Sasha was helping him like get the angles, the shots, making sure all like the lighting numbers were correct, and it was like this whole crazy ordeal. So like kudos to Michael for pulling that off. Right? He's not only artistic director, he was our cinematographer, director extraordinaire. He like
as if he needs to wear any more hats than he already does, and now he's adding videographer, cinematographer to the mix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so it was definitely like just the two of us in there alone for hours trying to get this. It's like really, it's how is it? It's like maybe 2 minutes of choreography I have, but it took us hours. And then, like you said, later we filmed sunrise on the roof, and so I had to get up at like 4 a.m. to get ready for that. I'd never done that before. That wasn't really fun.
You're like, I don't.
Warming myself up before the sun comes up is not something I ever really want to do again.
Yeah, the body ain't ready for that.
No, it's not.
Austin wanted to hear a little bit about like what you found most challenging switching from to Taylor style from ballet, like having this background. I know that you did go through New World, so you did get that modern thing. But Juilliard is no sucker when it comes to like ballet training. So like, talk a little bit about like what those challenges are coming from ballet to the Taylor style.
I'd say that biggest shock for me did happen in high school when I only considered myself to be a ballet dancer. And I remember joking with my teachers then. It was like I was like this newborn giraffe trying to learn how to walk. Like I was just so uncoordinated and gangly when it came to anything that didn't like come through turnout or whatever.
Right.
And I will say sometimes I think I do still struggle with wearing both hats at the same time. I think sometimes I think like this is my modern mode and this is my ballet mode. And so I have always wanted to make sure I can do my best to do both and represent both. And I do think that Amy was a good test of that for me. Like the movement is very technically based, but it is constantly moving and surging. And she has me throwing myself around in ways that is very Taylor. So, I mean, I'd say advice for going between the two is just thinking about your pelvis and your back and staying as rooted and grounded as you possibly can. But all that challenge for me was mainly high school, because then by the time I got to college, I just considered myself a modern dancer. And even when I was in Jessica Lange Dance, it is very ballet based, but the whole time I considered myself a modern dancer. And she always said that she hired modern dancers to do her work because she preferred having grounded and weightedness, doing what is many times just like, all this beautiful ballet movement, but she wanted dancers who had that sense of the floor.
Did Amy ever talk to you about having watched the company or Paul's work at all? I mean, I know she studied at Juilliard, so she probably got a fair amount of Taylor in that. But like, did she ever talk to you about like, oh, I know how to highlight you in that you're a Taylor dancer, so like that's what I'm excited about? Or was it more like she just kind of like took you for where you were at?
A little bit. She knows that we're all about like that surging pelvis movement, arms, back. But a couple of times she'd just be like, we'd get stuck and she'd be like, okay, well, what's something that feels natural? What's something that is something kind of like Taylor? Where can we go with this? And there are a couple of times where I do some swoop arms or I like get myself around in a certain way that is very Taylor. And so it was a lot of fun collaborating with her in that sense of like, how do we bring Taylor into this so it does feel organic for me and also for this collaboration.
Okay, cool. Did Bridget wanted to know, is there a specific alum that you like look up to, that you really is somebody that like is a mentor to you in the Taylor company?
I had quite a blast getting to dance with Robert Kleinendorf. I loved his commitment to Taylor. And I feel like I learned so much by getting to dance with him. But I'm just speaking of the men, I guess between him and Michael Trusnovek, I do feel so lucky that I got them. Even though it was like right at the end of their careers, I got in there just in time to watch them and see just what it means to be a Taylor male dancer. And so I try to remember that feeling as much as I can every day.
Yeah. Incredible. I agree. It was so nice to like grow up and get to watch them work in the studio and do that now. So I just wanted to ask, because the Miami connection, where are any fun places in Miami that people have to go next time you're visiting? Is there a coffee shop? Is there food? Is there a bookstore? I know you love books. Look behind you. Like, where do people need to go in Miami? What's the rec? I know you haven't lived there in a while.
It's been a really long time. And this is one of those things where it's like, I feel like friends would ask me in college, like, where's the fun place to be? And I'd be like, I don't know, like that typical ballet, that typical dancer answer where it's like, I just went to school and I went to dance. Like I didn't do anything. I never even went to the beach. It wasn't until after I moved to New York that I was like, wait, I really want to go to the beach. You know what? I would recommend check out Ocean Drive, South Beach, because it's, the thing to see. But my favorite beach is Holliver Beach. I think it's more North Miami Beach. And so if you're in the Miami area and you're looking for the best beach, my favorite is Holliver. It is more quiet. The sands are a bit more white and clean, and it has a nice little lighthouse. And part of it is clothing optional, so everyone can do their thing. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, speaking for me personally, the fact that like we did a show in Philadelphia, and then like I was in Miami right up until the tail end, right before like the world shut down. So I'm so excited that it's a collaboration, a creative collaboration with Miami City Ballet that is going to be our big first premiere back now, right? This Thursday. And I think there's something really cyclical about it, but like to me, that seems like it's so nice. And I'm so excited that you get to do it, John, because like you're a killer dancer. And like, as much as I joke about worrying about you, you always go for broke. And I'm sure, that everybody's going to be gobsmacked by your dancing. So I hope that everybody joins us. It's at 9 a.m. That's early, so get your coffee. Panther Coffee in Miami is really good. If you want to order, maybe you can get a rush delivery. And John will be performing. It's the work of Amy Hall Garner. Samantha Hope, what's her last name? How do you say it? Galler is the Miami City Ballet soloist who's going to be dancing with him. We hope that you will join us. You can get the link in our bio. You can all the information on Instagram for Miami City Ballet and also the Paul Taylor Dance Company. John, we're all I don't even know what to say. I'm wordless. It's going to be great.
Yeah, everyone watch it. It was so much fun. And I do think it is such an exciting and really special moment to bring these companies together. And I sincerely hope it leads to much further collaboration.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Viva adapted for in person, you two together.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. It's 9 a.m. And I'll see you on Thursday. All right, everyone. See you later. Bye, John.
Bye.